Salutations everybody, this is IgbarVonSquid making a splash, and I'm here today to bring you my first impressions on Zentrela. I think that's the pronunciation. It may be pronounced in a different way, but as far as the English language dictates, it would be Zentrela. And it is a newly released MMORPG in Minecraft. It's not necessarily a full release right now, as it's lacking in a lot of stuff, mostly content, but it's more or less a public beta, so right now I would guess that any opinions and or criticisms on it would help towards making it a better game in the future, which is basically the entire purpose of this video, so consider it an open letter to Zentrela if that is what you wish. So going in the order of exposure, my thoughts on the tutorial. And the tutorial is pretty important here because it's every player's first few minutes of the game, their first impressions, it's what they are greeted to when they first join. And I would say it's a pretty good tutorial, honestly. It's short and it's to the point, the mechanics are explained really well, and it doesn't look all that bad either. I'm personally not really a fan of obvious tutorials, and I'd rather see it maybe integrated into the first handful of quests, but I've definitely seen worse tutorials, so for a new release, it's pretty good. The classes are pretty decent as well. It's not a bad starting lineup, and there's some there you don't really see very often. It's especially cool to see that you're not locked into a class and can change out at any time, but it costs you at higher levels, which I think is really cool actually. So you're not locked into your choice. You don't end up regretting it. I'd like to see maybe more classes added in the future, but for a new release, I'd say it's where it should be. And along with classes comes with the spell system, which is way more advanced than I would have anticipated. So the click combo system is really reminiscent of Windcraft, but it does take it one step further by letting you pick what spells go into what click combo, and you can also upgrade the spells you want. So, you can when you level up, you can put in a point or something into a specific spell. So if you really like to use one specific spell, you can just keep upgrading it more and more to make it tougher. And that is super neato. Overall, I'd say this is where customizing your character is done the best compared to other games, because it's not like a numbers game where you just put points into defense or strength or something. It's actually affecting physically how you play the game and what spells you choose to use and upgrade. I'd like to see more spells going into the future, because right now it seems a bit limited, but it's well beyond my expectations in a really good way right now, so that's pretty good. Along with the spells is this trinket system that's a little weird, but it does make Zentrela seem really unique. They're basically passive abilities that you can equip and change out at any time to suit the situation, along with having a somewhat of an ultimate, I guess you would call it, with a really long cooldown. It's a bit annoying because trinkets have to be held in the left hand at all times to work, so it's constantly in your field of vision, which can be a bit annoying at first, but I guess after a while you just stop kind of noticing it. So overall, they're pretty original and well thought out. I'd really like to see it expanded out a bit into the future to maybe suit other situations too. But yeah, for where it is right now, I think it's pretty good. So probably one of my favorite parts of Zentrela, truth be told, is literally just the options in the help menu. I don't mean that in a bad way, because the options menu lets you toggle stuff on and off, and I love that so much because Zentrela has so much stuff that goes straight to your chat that it can be really hard to read quest dialogue because there's just so much stuff being just told to you at all times. So I love that you can turn most of it just on and off. I'm almost certain almost all of it. I don't think there's any way to specifically turn off local chat completely, but basically, you can set it so that you can only talk to people within a 50 meter radius, and that is awesome. I love that. As for the help menu, it's also pretty awesome because it's an actual menu with proper explanations instead of just a wall of text in the chat, which again, because Zentrela by default has quite a lot of chat spam, so having a separate menu to come up so you can actually read it without having to get it lost in the chat is super duper good. I love that. But one thing I did realize when I was looking at the help menu is that there's actually all these other important mechanics. Well, maybe not important, but I'd say a really decent portion of the game, really useful, is being able to use a bank and salvage. and this is not explained anywhere but the help menu. And I think that should be fixed. I think you do need an explanation somewhere besides the help menu, because knowing video game players, a lot of them are not going to check the help menu. They're just going to say, oh, I don't know how to sell my stuff or bank stuff. Why doesn't this game have this mechanic? But it does. It's just, on the help menu, which not a lot of people will ever bother to read. So going next, I'd say the enemies are up to standard. I'd say it is pretty unique that after a while they return to their original position and heal up, but it's also kind of annoying. Overall, I'd say they're about where they should be for a new release, but I really think they do need to kind of be expanded out a bit more. I guess I'm not really entirely sure how, but right now they seem to fall a little flat. They don't really feel very unique, I suppose. One other small detail that I'd like to mention here is that there are named NPCs in the towns that you can actually talk to, and they serve no actual purpose but to just give 1 or 2 lines of dialogue, but I honestly really like that. It kind of adds to the atmosphere of the game a bit, but it'd definitely be a bit of an improvement to have them have more lines of dialogue than maybe just 2. Or maybe have what they say be meaningful in a way, like maybe they can point you in the direction of a quest or something, I don't know. So, this one's gonna be a bit of a negative for me, is the item system, because it's a little weird. It is original, but I've had a hard time kind of using it. So it's done in like a tiered system, and I think there's a level requirement to wear higher tiers, but I don't know for sure because I haven't seen anything higher than the higher tier than the beginner stuff. Which I've basically been stuck with the entire game. Items just don't seem to drop that often. I mean, health potions do, but like actual weapons and armor don't really seem to drop that often. And anything that does drop is either worse or maybe kind of slightly better than what I currently have equipped. It makes me kind of too scared to explore the higher leveled areas because I feel like my equipment sucks, but if I don't, I'll never get better equipment. There doesn't really seem to be any merchants that sell better stuff either in any of the beginner areas, so the system just feels a little broken. I don't know, it comes across as weird. Maybe I don't entirely get it, but it doesn't seem to work out that well for me. And speaking of broken, this is a huge negative for me, is that you can actually teleport to other players, but it's a TPA. The other person would have to accept the teleport request, but along with that, you can also use warp scrolls to teleport to towns, but the thing is you can go to them even if you haven't been to them before, and you can buy a scroll to basically every town in one of the beginner areas. And I honestly feel that this breaks the game just way too much, and just there's no real place in this. Because you can also teleport back to the nearest town for free at any time as well. I feel like these are just way too overpowered. I can see being able to fast travel to places you've been before, but still at a bit of a price. I think that basically costing nothing but 3 seconds is too much for me. I guess referring to the elephant in the room, the map is not that great. It's bland. It doesn't really look all that nice, but I understand that for a new release, you need a map, okay? You can't just have the mechanics and the quests and not just have a blank room. You do need an actual map. So for that purpose, it's fine, but I'd say one of the first things that really needs to be improved on is the map, because it just looks really bad, and it's just not that interesting. So getting that up there I'd say is a key requirement in the near future. And now, because I have the most to say about it, so I saved it for last, is the quests. And while it is cool that your character speaks in the quest dialogue, the actual action parts of the quest are really not that great. It's mostly just grinding off of mobs until you get a certain number of drops, and then turning them in to complete the quest. None of them are really worth specifically calling out, except for one 2-part quest that would probably make anyone want to quit the game right then and there. And here's how it goes. Basically, there's this mechanic in the game where you can search through hay bales for loot, which is pretty nice, but you can only search every 30 seconds, which, okay, sounds fair. But the thing is that there's a quest where you have to look for a specific item in a specific hay bale, and the only way to find it is to just basically randomly search through the hay bales until you find it. I did the math on it, and basically this could take you anywhere from 5 seconds to 21 minutes. Okay, but however, keep in mind that the cooldown for searching through hay bales was changed recently. Originally, it was not 30 seconds, it was 60 seconds. You had to wait a full minute, which means the first time I did this quest, it was actually anywhere from 5 seconds to 41 minutes. And that is a huge pain in the neck, and I don't really see the point of it, honestly. It just wastes the player's time for no real good reason other than to try and be funny, and I can tell you it stopped being funny after about the 4th hay bale.
But wait! There's more!
So there's a part 2 to this quest that's even more unreasonable, because now there's 5 specific items you need to look for, and even more hay bales. And I, of course, ran the math and the numbers on this one as well, and this quest could take you anywhere from 5 minutes to 2.5 hours. But again, remember that the cooldown was recently nerfed, which means the first time I did this quest, it could have taken me anywhere from 5 minutes to almost 5 hours. 5 hours. Sometimes in life, you just encounter that situation where you can't help but think I'd much rather wade through chest-deep raw sewage with Dominique playing on infinite loop in the background and Bear Grylls offering to drink my piss about every 5 steps until the eventual heat death of the universe than do this. I'll spare you the 10-minute long ramble of it and just say this: why would you make a quest designed solely to waste the player's time? And in the quest book it says this would be hell if you didn't cheat. Which really makes me question all of this, because it makes me think that it's condoning cheating behavior, and that's not really something you want to do. So I would honestly say just remove this quest flat out. Maybe change it to at least introduce the concept of searching through hay bales, but this is a bit too ridiculous, and on both accounts. You really do not need to be this crazy about it. It's dumb. On to just some small final thoughts that I forgot to put in earlier in the script is that you can vote for the server on Minecraft server lists to get rewards, and I don't really like that. I understand the purpose of it, but it's so typical of Minecraft servers these days that I can't help but think it comes across as desperate and doesn't really make the server look good, but I do understand why. I just don't think it makes the server look all that appealing. There's also kind of these like dungeons, but not really. They aren't very fleshed out at all, and they kind of need a major overhaul before I'd really even consider talking about them in length. You can also look at other people's equipment at any time for no cost at all, and that's a bit too invasive. I don't think regular players should be able to do that. I think that should be reserved for staff members only. Bans are completely public. If someone gets banned, the whole server knows about it, and you can even go on the forums and read other people's ban appeals, which I think is just way too invasive. I don't think normal players should be able to know that information. That should be kind of kept private, only for staff members. Regular players do not need to know about this. And finally, I would say the game lacks any sort of real sound feedback. Spells don't really make any sounds at all. It'd be nice to have some audio feedback like that, because otherwise it just feels off in a way. And actually, there is one final thing. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, but there's this weird thing where mobs can hit you without any respect on the Y-axis, meaning that if you were on a really tall perch and you think zombies cannot hit you, they actually totally can hit you if they're right below you. Again, not really sure if that's a bug or a feature, but it's kind of weird either way. I can see it as a feature in terms of like it prevents camping, but at the same time I feel like if you have a game that has so much grinding, you kind of need the camping. You can't really ruin it like that. And that's basically it. That's all I have to say about Zentrela. Those were my first impressions. I know it was a bit long for first impressions, but I'm of the mind that the more feedback games like these get, the better they can be. So overall, I'd say Zentrela looks promising with its mechanics, but the quests don't really give me much hope for the future on that. Plus there's some small things like being able to teleport to other players and bans being completely public. I can't help but feel a little shaky on it. I'd recommend getting some writers to make quests with some real depth, maybe remove some of the more overpowered stuff like teleporting and seeing other people's items, but that's about it. If anyone has their own ideas or thoughts, please feel free to say so in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to respond. Have a good day, and see you next time.